Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. On this episode, we'll be converting this Eskom blanket into a turtleneck pullover. First, we draw a straight horizontal line across, then copy the front bodice using a pullover you already have. I'm using my brother's pullover for a much baggier fit, then I will shorten it with a fold at the hem. We then trace around the pullover, adding 1/2 inch seam allowance around. Then I decided to make the armhole larger by 1 inch and mark the point. We then trace the back neck by using one finger to mark the point and the other to flip the fabric up to trace, and you repeat the step for the rest of the neckline. We then trace the shoulder seam, then the armhole using the same technique. After tracing the whole pullover, define the lines and add 1/2 inch seam allowance. We then mark 4 inches down to trace the front yoke, then cut out the front bodice. Take another paper and draw a line across, then pin the front bodice onto the paper to drop the back bodice. Trace the front bodice out, then measure the distance between the front neck line and the back neck line. Mine was 2.5 inches. Mark the point and connect it to the original high point shoulder of the front bodice and add the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Trace the rest of the front bodice and at the armhole add 1/2 inch onto the curve of the armhole. Define the lines, mark front from back, and cut out. Mark out the 1/2 inch seam allowance, then measure the front and back armholes. My front was 10 inches and my back 9.5 inches. To drop the sleeve, measure the length of the sleeve of the pullover, then draw a line down of that measurement. Mark one side front and the other side back, along with their armhole measurements. Use the pullover sleeve. Mark the armhole sleeve using the same technique as the neckline marking. Define the line, then measure. Make sure the line is the same length as the armhole measurement written on each side, and repeat the technique on the other side of the sleeve. Now measure the width of the sleeve opening and mark the amount on both sides. Then connect the corner ends of the armhole lines to the hem of the sleeve. And add 1/2 inch seam allowance all around and cut out. Separate the front yoke from the front bodice, then add 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side. Mark the placement of the zip and the notch for the seam allowance. For the front bottom half of the front bodice, write a reminder to cut 1, and on the center front, add arrows to indicate to fold when cutting. Define the seam allowance necklines, then measure both front and back. My back was 3.5 inches and my front 5.25 inches. Now take another piece of paper to draft the collar. Draw a vertical line down and mark it the center back. Draw a horizontal line perpendicular with the measurement of the back neckline and mark. Then from the mark, draw a continuous line with the measurement of the front neckline and also mark. At the mark, draw another vertical line and mark up 1/2 inch from the mark. Use a curved ruler to connect the first notch to the 1/2 inch mark. Mark up 4 inches from the center back vertical line to the other vertical line in respect to the curve. Mark a 1/4 inch in, then from there, draw a line from the 1/4 inch to the 1/2 inch mark. Define the lines and add seam allowance. Remember to mark the first notch to indicate the shoulder neck point, which separates the back neck, which is 3.5 inches, from the front neck, which is 5.25 inches. The collar is 4 inches high to create the turtleneck look. So in total, you'll have the collar pattern, front yoke pattern, back bodice, front bodice, and the sleeve pattern. So I'm trying not to make my videos long. So up next, we'll be cutting the blanket and sewing it together to make the jersey. Thank you for watching and please subscribe.